Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Let's pray. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we ask that you be with us this evening. We ask that you be with everyone that is here in attendance tonight. The decisions rendered will be good decisions for the benefit of our city as well as for our citizens. We ask all of these things in your most precious name. Amen.
Thank you. Item 4 on the agenda is public comment. Do we have anyone from the public tonight that would like to speak on any items not on the agenda? No one present. Moving on. Executive session, Mr. Mike, we don't have anything, do we? Okay. We'll move past 5 and 6 to the fun stuff. Item number 7, discuss and consider authorizing the funding for the purchase of a Kenworth T480 Phelps Fire 3,000 gallon tanker in a partnership with Winkler County. Chief Panetti, you will give us an update on that?
I don't mind when I just speak on it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mayor Council, just real quickly, just kind of so you're aware, the fire department, this is gonna be for a pretty much like a new brush truck tanker, 3,000 gallon. You got the information in your packet of what the truck will look like and kind of the details of it. But just so you know, the fire department received a $300,000 grant from the Texas Forestry Service through the governor's office. They received that back in October. And so they then began to start talking with the manufacturer and the dealer of this product. And at the time, they had a couple of hundred trucks, I believe, available. Now they're down to 1. So we have our name on it, but this truck was $458,000. They have a $300,000 grant. Last Monday, the city council, the county commissioners court approved their participation of $80,000. And so the agenda item that you have before you right now is to approve an $80,000 expenditure in the budget. I believe we budgeted $70,000, so we just had or $75,000. So we have money that we have set aside for it, but this would be to go ahead and do the purchase of this truck. It would be under the city of Kermit, and we'll have it on our insurance plan, a part of our fleet. But essentially, we're getting almost a $500,000 vehicle for $80,000.
When would delivery be?
Probably a couple of days after she writes the check.
Oh,
Okay.
we,
We like that.
If we go along with too long, then there's about 3 or 4 departments waiting for this particular truck.
They're waiting on a phone call tomorrow to say that it was approved.
So,
And where's it at right now?
Mansfield.
Mansfield.
That was what they were using as a demo truck for like this whole little, of the grants and stuff. So, but nothing twice. So,
But you won't put this out in the pasture, will you?
no, it's going to be water support.
Oh, because you said,
Yeah, no, this will be basically providing the water for the.
Right, yeah.
So currently what we do is, if we have a large fire, out of city limits, then the county will bring their water transports, but tank battery fire or grass fire usually takes them 30 minutes to an hour to respond, by the time they go do what they're doing. So with this, it will respond immediately with this. So our current regular structure fire truck carries 1,000 gallons of water or 700, depending on which truck it is. This carries 3,000.
okay.
And this is equipped, looks like on the side of it, equipped to fight fires if you needed, it feels like a discharge.
Correct. So the reason we went with this one's a little more expensive than the regular ones, but this one actually is designed to be a firefighter truck. So the back, I don't know which pictures you'll have, but on the back end of it, there's a big chute. So we can dump those 3,000 gallons into a swimming pool. So it comes with one of those big vinyl swimming pools on the side. So we'll be able to deploy that, and that holds 3,000 gallons as well. So basically we could go to, let's say there's a gas fire, we can go to the site, we can dump all that water into that pool, and we can go get more water and come back, and it becomes a shuttle or something.
Okay.
So, but we did design this. This one's designed to where if we had a structure fire, they can also fight fire from this.
Awesome. Okay.
I'll make a motion, we purchase a Kenworth T480 fire tanker.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the funding for the portion from Kermit City Council or Kermit City for the Kenworth T80 Phelps Fire 3000. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Congratulations, Chief. All right, the next 5 items on the agenda all have to do with upcoming projects that we've had public hearings on. Main thing we wanted to do again was to answer any questions that council may have. And then we also, I believe, have Mark Valenzuela on, who's going to kind of help us with understanding the difference between the COs and the GOs, possibly the increasing, the amounts that taxes or water fees and stuff will be, if we have that information available. So we'll start first with the construction of Best Park and a multi-use sports facility building. Does anybody have any questions on construction? Doesn't have to do with the funding yet. We'll cover that in item 12, but anything as far as the construction or what we've seen in drawings on Best Park? Okay, I'm gonna ask the same thing on City Hall and the Public Safety Building. We do have Ashley with us from Park Hill. And I know he's brought some information, so you wanna step forward on that?
Mayor, thank you for having me this evening. As requested, I've prepared a bit of a concept sketch for the future public safety building. And it is reusing several buildings. Well, police will expand into the remainder of this building after the municipal court assumes this one. We'll be building a equipment bay, 6 equipment bay building between this and the building at the end of the block. And replacing that building with offices, training space, support, etc. The existing fire department, the little portable building and the decommissioned water tower are to be removed, giving us great access from the rear of the building for trucks coming back from the fire to be cleaned, resupplied, restocked, whatever is necessary on the back drive approach and then into the building. It is a pull through front to rear. We are also looking at a small addition to the back of this building to accommodate a wellness facility that'll be shared between the 2 departments.
What's the small dotted line between the 6 bays and the existing building? Is it like just a walkway?
That dash line is really just showing the extent of that first bay. The white area is the office space.
So the solid red line the building would come all the way to the solid red line?
Yes,
They just have
that's
room.
the perimeter.
Gotcha. Okay.
Or the perimeter, I guess, of the new construction, let me put it that way. The existing city hall shown in black again, because it's just a minor addition to that.
Okay.
And the existing fire department coming down to make room for staff parking.
Right, and that was discussion that Ashley and I had, is the existing fire department that's over here would be demoed, and that would be parking for the police department and also for the fire department when they show up for either meetings or calls, they have a place to park as well, and not just be scattered everywhere. The discussion that we had, and I've had this discussion with Tom Kerr, also with Park Hill, concerning this water tower back here. Of course, currently has water in it. I thought it was empty, but it has water in it, but we don't use it. And so the water that's in there right now is stagnant, so we couldn't even put that into our system. We'd have to discharge that water. But the discussion that I've had with Tom Kerr is taking a look at demoing that water tower, which we'll probably look at putting money in next year's budget to decommission and demo that water tower and get rid of it. And then taking the existing building, everything we have and moving around, but then that would allow straight access into the back of the bay so that they could pull the trucks through and not have to worry about backing up, but they can try and just drive all the way through. And so that's what we're looking at now. So basically the backside over here that we have pretty much just be a paved lot. That's all it's gonna be for parking for PD and fire department, and then straight drive through for the fire department trucks.
Does that water tower have a water well under it?
No, it was just a feeder that we had.
So we don't have to tap a well.
No, it's just bringing down that water tower.
Would we need to put another water tower somewhere else?
At this point in time, we do not. And talking with Tom Kerr, he said normally what happens is that when you calculate about 100 gallons per connection is what you need to have storage. We got plenty of storage. That's not the issue. We can have that. He did also say, he said, Mike, if you ever got to the point that you needed to put another water tower out, then we need to strategically place it where it needs to go.
Okay.
And he said, well, you could use this one and put in there. From a strategic standpoint, it's not placed where it needs to be.
Okay.
So that'll be something we can look at. That is probably based on population growth. I mean, we would probably end up having to boom almost 30-40% before we'd look at another water tower.
Okay. And what about the lot that's across the street over there? They have that lot, correct?
That belongs to the city as well.
Okay. And how about the one over on the side?
That belongs to the city.
So what would we do with those lots?
We haven't discussed what we do with those yet, but yeah, those, I mean, that's part of what we can take a look at, but yeah, we have not had any discussion on that. Really what we're looking right now is the accessibility for the police department, and the fire department.
The problem with that lot is there's a well over there.
Oh, well, right. Yeah.
On that
On the
lot
one across the street, there's an oil
I
well on
forgot
there?
about that, yeah. So that well had to be capped, but it's become a whole big deal.
Oh,
So that probably, honestly, probably just parking there except for.
oh, yeah.
Looks like parking.
Yeah.
But I did ask, Ashley, you gotta give us some sketches of what we're looking at, and basically, as he stated, this entire building would be police department, and then they wouldn't be sitting over each other, they'd actually spread out. This would continue to be the municipal court chambers whenever they hold court. They could come in here in the police department. For safety reasons also, it's beneficial to have this in the police department. And then we would just extend out for the fire department. As you can see, a majority of what we're talking about with the fire is pretty much just bays, open bays for that to happen. But it would be an extension, and then we would simply convert this and call this the public safety building, City of Kermit Public Safety Building.
It looks like that's the lot here where we had the Christmas decoration, the tree, that's gonna be parking, correct?
At this, in this sketch, yes. But I mean, we could still go back, and if we decide to build it all out, not have parking there, we can still do that as well. But this is just kind of give you some idea as to what we envision what a public safety building would look like and how it'd be laid out from a schematic standpoint.
I have a question about the city hall. The drawing that you gave us, is that exactly how it's gonna look, or we can change it, or how does that work?
This was just a preliminary study
Okay,
early on, and I
Okay.
did bring in a couple copies. I didn't know if it would come up or not.
well, because I feel like that doesn't. It doesn't look like our downtown. It's very modern. So I'm like, do we do a modern building, or, I mean, how, I guess that's a conversation we need to have.
And-
Once
Right.
we decide what we're gonna do with downtown and how we're gonna change it up.
Correct. And we would be able to have that more in-depth conversation.
Okay,
And so, you know, whether do we want to keep the same decor that's downtown, or do we want to, you know, lead the charge for an updated, modern building? It's just however the council would choose to.
okay, so we're not set on that.
It's just rendered drawings to what.
You wanna put broken windows and boarded up stuff, we could make it match what's down there now.
No, you know what I mean.
If that works.
Yes, you want a little graffiti on the
No,
building.
Y'all know what I mean.
we just went through an early programming exercise of how many staff, how are
Okay.
they associated to one another, and fit them into this site.
Okay,
This building does work, but no, it doesn't appeal. We can certainly move to another style, move to another shape, whatever it takes to do it.
And same on like the public safety building as well. These, main thing tonight is the education on the proposals, and then we'll get into the brass tacks of how to exactly lay them out, what they're gonna look like.
Right.
It's great pointing.
I just wanted to, I mean, that's been weighing heavy, and I'm just curious about it.
On the public safety building, based on what I know, everything is going to fit on the
Right.
site.
Okay,
And
yeah,
work-
I don't
and
have a
work well
problem with
together.
that. I don't know, that building just looked very modern and I'm like, we're not very modern.
Yeah.
I mean, we might wanna
Yeah.
be, yet.
Back to this big lot here, is anybody, I guess Kent Wicks owns that?
Well, it's sold,
Actually, so
across the street, Bostel has bought it.
Well,
Yes.
y'all mentioned that one time, yeah, okay. Okay.
Yeah, that is private land,
Yeah, and
private building.
the Hills used to own that
That-
shop right next to them, but I
I
don't
think they
know.
went to his son, so I don't know if Larry still owns it.
Yeah.
Winkler CAD does show a hill on it.
That is still.
Yeah, he does. Larry owns it.
Oh, yeah, inherited that when Lloyd died.
Yeah.
And on the fire hall, I know the mayor had brought up maybe doing the corner of it with some glass to put the old, 37,
Yes.
maybe in
Yeah.
the front there.
I love
Showcase.
that. I love that idea.
In
I
fact, I
really
showed-
like, I
But
really like.
again, nothing is set in stone. In
Right.
fact, I showed public parking as a small parking lot for the fire. That is gonna conflict with the signage you have on that corner, but we can always stick with on-street parking for the public.
Yeah.
It's just an option to
Right.
get people off the street.
I don't know that we would need on-street parking with all of this back here, you know?
More for public, and I don't know how often the public has to come to the fire station for any reason.
And
Basically, when they have a fee, but they probably use the back. parking lot,
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
it's
we can
usually,
adjust.
they, it's usually a big tournament.
The good thing is we got lots of land we can
Yes.
work with. It's
Yeah.
just-
yes,
That's all kind of cosmetic and can be discussed later on, but
yeah. We're definitely not land for, which is great.
Any other questions for Mr. Ashley or Park Hill or anybody on those two?
I do have one question. On that layout, what would happen with the existing alleys? I know the one between the police and the fire looks like it would probably get canceled because of the parking lot.
Yes.
But, what would you do with those two neighboring properties? Because their alley right now goes from behind the.
Let's go this way, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
The property marked private property?
Yeah, that one and the one next to it, the alley goes straight behind them and comes back out the same street.
On from you. That's a very good question. We'd have to work with them, see if it's still a requirement they have to have. And utilities all have to be looked at too, is where they can move to get them out of the way. If we have to sacrifice some space in there, we can. Or have a dead end alley so that utility services can remain. This was, again, just a preliminary
So we would just
concept.
start from the other side of the
Right.
alley.
Good question.
But I've left the
I mean-
bays, I hope, large enough for your.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, is 80 foot?
I don't know what our current measurements are. They're wide enough now. It's just almost a height and I'll go back and check it.
Well, in doing this type of building, we can go as high as we need to. 20 foot wide seems to fit the bill most places. 80 foot deep even gives you the ability to stack equipment. In other words, if it's wildfire season, station that brush truck in front and have somebody else in the rear as a secondary. Rearrange as needed.
We would have to have. Almost even, we'll measure it out. But with that, having that parking lot in the back, it almost even go a little longer back.
Right.
And that was a discussion Ashley and I
Yes.
did have about having it 100 feet.
That 80 could be 100. I mean, we've
So we
seen
could
it
do that.
deeper than that.
Currently, we have 1, 2, 3. With this one coming, I think we'll be 5 or 6 vehicles out of this fire hall right now if we need a house in the new one.
That's not currently housed. So I know,
Yeah, that's plenty of it.
And we've got plenty of time to work out the details. We want to make sure you fit this building. This building fits.
and I think we have it going forward to make sure that they're involved in planning and layout and stuff.
Yeah, once we get to the point that the council green lights, either through CO to GOs, and we proceed forward, at that point in time is when we'll start with Parkville on the actual design of what it's gonna look like and the depth and everything we need. And that's when we'll make sure that we bring Chief Benita and to have a conversation about how we want it done and make sure it's designed according to the specs that he's seeking for the fire department.
Perfect, thank you. All right.
All
Thanks,
right.
sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. All right, item 10 is the solid waste transfer station. That's the one we talked about building out, behind the CCS. I don't know if anybody has any questions on the proposed construction of that. Nothing on that one? Okay. And like I said, these are just discussion points. So we come up with something, we can always fall back to it. Number 11 is the discussion of the proposed replacement of the water line, aging water lines. I know we had our studies, and Park Hill also did that one. But I think the discussion for us as a council, or y'all as a council, me as mayor, is if we're gonna do it in stages, if we want to look at doing the entire 52 million. Of course, you're still gonna do it in stages, but as a council, y'all will approve the bonds, and then they would be issued as that timeline progresses. So it's just whether we're gonna address just the 2-inch right now and let somebody else worry about later on, or set a plan in motion that replaces all of them. So any discussion on the water lines, the way it's kind of laid out or looking at? And we'll have some more clarity here in just a second when we talk to Mark on the bonding options and funding and things of that nature. So
Mayor and Council, I do want to let you know that I got an update from Tom Kerr with Park Hill. He's beginning to start really trying to narrow down on what potential costs would be. He estimates that the 2-inch galvanized lines that we have that we need to be replaced, those are the more severe ones that need to be replaced. He's anticipating that to now come in at a total of 7.3. And then we have some 2-inch PVC. They said it's not as critical, but if we're gonna go replace them, we go and replace them all. That's a total cost of $877,000. So he's projecting that to replace all the 2-inch lines, the cost has actually gone from about 10.5 down to about 8.1 million.
Oh, we like that.
So, but overall, the total cost that we had anticipated before, which is set at about 52 million, he's now saying should run about 48 million. So the costs have decreased a little bit on what he's projecting costs for that to be. He did break out each one of them, and I can forward that to you so you have. And so, but just kind of give you some idea. He does also recommend that this be a multi-year project. I mean, when we're talking multi-year, I think it's stretched out over a period of like 10 years. But we'll pick out what we're gonna do for maybe 2 years, start the next project, at the beginning year 3, next one year 5, next one year 7. With the last one being the 6-inch lines, if we decide to go down that route, because that's where a majority of the linear feet are located at. And that would give us the ability to run and spend more time on 6-inch, because that's where it's gonna take the longest.
Our major concentration being on the 2-inch line.
Initially, yes.
That's the way I'm leaning, is to go ahead and do that, because Caesar and them said that their majority of repairs are having to be made on the 2-inch lines.
And Mark will be able to talk to you a little bit more when he comes on to talk about this, but we did meet with our bond attorney, or who will be our bond attorney, Reed Seguda, if we go down this route. And he pretty much stated what I believe to be the case anyway, is that that $2 billion that the legislature set aside, he said, don't expect to see any money. He said, I already have clients that have begun to start submit their information to the Water Development Board. The money is not even there yet, but they've started submitting their plans. He said, and they're talking about in need of billions of dollars with his clients.
So do we still want to submit our stuff though?
We'll submit it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say we expect it, but
Wow.
the other thing, of course, we can do is to go to the Water Development Board, as we talked about. He did say, anticipate that when you submit a project to them, it's gonna be about 3 years down the road before you hear from anybody. Because once they approve it, they say you're approved, and we're gonna put it in our next legislative appropriation request when the legislature meets. And so if they approve it, and because we recommend it's approved, you're still not gonna get the money until September 1 of that legislative year. So it'll still be 3 or 4 years down the road before we ever see that money.
So we're probably looking at 2030.
So, yeah, if we get some
Yes.
funding for it.
Yeah.
So a lot of it just depends on what we want to go for, but So that's just a combination of things, but we did want to put it out there and let you know that, Tom did get some other additional numbers and the costs have decreased.
Awesome. Okay. So not cutting off the water line discussion, but I think we can get a lot more answers if we move on to the next item, which is the funding options. Mark, are you on?
Yes, sir, Mayor.
All righty. I'll let you take it from the top if you want.
Yes, sir. Thank you and good evening. Sorry I couldn't be there in person. We've done some look at the water utility revenues and certainly what I'd like to just sort of put a disclaimer out. We still need to see the FY25 numbers to get much more exact. And I think Mike will tell you this as well, that, as you start to move down the process to sell bonds, it's probably very useful for the city to get a rate study done. Because we're a fiduciary to you, we're not able to do that. So I just wanted to put that disclaimer out, and the numbers I'm sharing with you now are, they're very general numbers and not based on any rate study that we've done. However, so we were looking at, from the presentation from last month, we were targeting a utility financing in the general number of about 20 million. We can adjust our numbers as you guide us. But based on a utility, and it could be for the water lines, it could be for other utility projects you need, in the city. Our general number is that rates would increase roughly about $40 to $50 per month. So per user. And again, this is very general. We have not broken out numbers based on residential versus commercial or industrial users. So a lot more work needs to be done on this, but generally $40 to $50 increase a month. Couple of the variables here are, what happens to the tap fee. So if the current debt that's secured with the tap fee, if that's paid off with some of your cash and then that tap fee becomes available, that would just be a net reduction from the numbers I'm telling you. So based on, each account contributing roughly about $500 additional per year, we feel like that would be sufficient to get $20 million of financing on the utility. So again, very general, Mayor, and I don't want to, I don't want to sort of sound like we're not trying to be very specific to your request. It's just we need more data on the utility to give you a better answer.
Okay. And on that 20 million, is that for a 20-year bond or?
It's no, sir. It's based on a 30-year. So we might be able to improve the interest cost, reduce it with a 20-year or somewhere in between 20 to 25-year structure. So there might be some savings there.
Okay.
Mayor and Council, I'll also let you know that in this year's budget, we did budget for a rate study. I think we budgeted about $75,000 for a rate study. So we already anticipated that we were going to have to get one no matter what, which helps. But, we can probably implement that rate study beginning anytime on our part, which will help towards the bonding that we're looking at. But it also helps because of the fact from an audit standpoint, the auditors want to know that whatever the ordinances are in place, we're actually doing in the water department. So a rate study is something that we've already budgeted for.
We should probably do that sooner rather than later.
Yes, ma'am. And after visiting with Mark and Rudy, it was determined then that, I kind of figured then, yeah, we need to go and just get this started. So I looked, I think it was yesterday, and we did set aside money for a rate. If you look at your budget book, when you go to the water department, it's one of the items that we put in there as our objectives is to do a rate study.
We need to give you direction next week's meeting to proceed with that.
Probably so.
Get that on the agenda.
Mayor, if I could also add one other item that's a variable that I failed to mention. You did the new meters within the city, and so that should produce a little bit extra revenue. So, again, our numbers are a little bit fungible based on that, based on what happens with the tap fee and that existing debt. But we are ready to dig into the numbers more, as we move forward.
Okay. Alrighty, what about on the, transfer station? Do we have a estimated increase on the garbage, fees that are collected right now? Have we had a chance to do that yet?
Mayor, forgive me, no, we have not had a chance to start digging into the solid waste side of it.
Okay. All right. Okay. Can you, for myself and council, kind of explain the difference between the COs and the GOs and whatever else information on that?
Yes, sir. So the general obligation bond it's voter approved. And so, the voters would be agreeing to allow the city to issue up to, and again, this is the council's decision, $25 million of general obligation bonds to be repaid over a period of 30 years or shorter. And in that process, if they said yes, they would be agreeing to pay additional property tax. Based on the 25 million on $100,000 home, that would be about $900 additional on $100,000 home per year for that tax. The certificate of obligation it does not require voter approval, but basically, certificate of obligation can also be paid for with property tax, or at least property tax is the legal pledge to the repayment, where you may use a different revenue stream to repay the debt. So think of it as just sort of a rich uncle who, if I can't make my car payment, will come in and make that car payment for me. That would be the property tax being the rich uncle, so to speak. And again, does not require voter approval for that. It's much more flexible. I will say that our conversation with Mr. Segura and Mike, the Texas Attorney General has recently taken some more conservative views of the use of certificates of obligation and the types of projects that are eligible. And we had a pretty good discussion about it. We still believe, at least I do, and Mike may want to add more to this, but the projects that you're considering are still eligible within those definitions. The Vest Park Town Hall and the police facility. So, Mike, I'll turn it back over to you if you want to make any comments about that.
All right, thanks, Marty. In the conversation that we had with Rudy Segura, he did state that, and he went all the way back from history. I think started in 1976. I think is when he started with. My dates may be wrong, but he went back a ways as to when there was first the ability to issue debt for construction of things. He said when the act was initially filed and became law, they simply stated that you could issue debt for public works, but they never defined what public works was. Through the course of the legislative sessions, the course of some, I'm not gonna call them bad apples, but cities doing things to try to skirt certain issues. The legislature came back in, I believe it said 2023, and defined what public works means. So there's now actually a definition for public works that they now have in law. Based on, and we went through every single one of these projects, and based on the information that Rudy said, he said these all fall under public works, so you're fine. And I'll give you an example. We can issue debt to construct a new city hall. What the state statute does not allow for is to issue debt to buy property and demo a building and not know what you're gonna do with it. He said, you can't do that. He said, but you can say, we want to issue debt to build a city hall. By the way, there's a structure there. We're gonna demo it to construct a new city hall. At that point in time, you can. He said, so there's some finagling on how you do that. The parks fit perfectly. The solid waste transfer station also fits, as the water lines. So the only question we came in a deep conversation was on City Hall. And he said, based on what you're telling me, that there's something there, but you're gonna put something new, you'll be fine. He said that falls under that. So every single project that we have, he did say you could do those under a CO. he says that we'll do that. Now, there's a lot of legalities we have to follow. So once this is done, we got to start working with the Attorney General's office. They have a bond counsel review department. So all of this will have to go to them and they'll review everything and submit to them. That's where the bond attorneys come in. The one thing I do need to let you know is that the state law says that if you're gonna issue general obligation bonds, which are the voter approved, you have to have it 72 days before the election. The election is May 2nd. And so 72 days before that puts us in, I believe, first part of February is what we figured were the dates. And so that's the reason that you have to have it, you can't have it before that. So that was the reason that we had looked at January being the time frame that we would have to either say COs or GOs, either one. So if we go GO route, you still have to try and declare an election 72 days before, which means you got to do it in January. The certificate of obligations, that doesn't require a time frame because it's not voter, but there is a 46-day period in which the council would have to issue what's called a notice of intent to issue certificate of obligation bonds. So once they do that, there's a 46-day period before the council can come back and they can say, yes, now we're going to issue them. And then, as an example, if we were following that time frame, next week, if you say we're going to have a notice of intent to issue COs, then in March we'll come back, and then the council at that point in time would actually authorize myself, Mark Valenzuela, and our bond attorney to go through the process of issuing the bonds. And so that's when we go out, and this is kind of where the work will begin for Mark and for Rudy is, we have to go out and get a bond rating. We have to go out and get all the paperwork in. We have to shop it with the bond market and go to the different bond agencies to shop this out and to see where we can get a good rate. But we do have to do the bond rating initially and figure out what our coupon rate would be. And so that's kind of what we're looking at from the COs and the GOs of the time frame that we have to have. Did I miss anything, Mark? Did I cover it all?
No, sir, that was a pretty good overview of everything. And Mayor, I didn't want to get away from the original question you asked about the difference between general obligation and COs. But if you have any other questions, I'm ready to hopefully give you an answer.
Okay.
What if we don't call for an election and then, I guess it doesn't matter. What if our bond rating isn't good?
I can tell you that we don't know what that's going to be, and Mark could probably speak to it more. I think all the information that Mark has given you is on the assumption that we're at least a triple B. Not the best, but it's not bad. And so I don't believe we've been less than that. We could be, but just kind of looking at because of the fact that we have a healthy financial position. And in the event that the rate study shows that we're not charging sufficient for water to maintain that department, then I'm going to come to you and say we have to increase our water rates in order to make sure that we're maintaining, first of all, the operation of the water department, plus to be able to meet the debt structure. And so those have to be adjusted accordingly. And so we went through this, Mark and I went through this when I was in Littlefield, when we were doing a refinancing of the bonds. We came back and the bond agency said, you're not charging enough in your water. So we went before the council, we increased the water rates and it satisfied the bond agencies and the bond market. And then at that point in time, we refinanced our bonds. And when we refinanced our bonds, I think that we saved, was it $3 million in interest, Mark? Do you remember that?
Yes, sir. That was about the right amount.
So we saved $3 million just by going out and refinancing our bonds. And to get to that point, we had to go back out and get a bond rating. When I first got, and when Mark first started with us in Littlefield, we were considered junk bond rating. So there was 4 cities in the nation, Detroit, I think Sacramento, somebody else in North Carolina, and Littlefield were the only ones that had junk bond rating. And basically the first bond counsel that I talked to when I got to the city, he made a statement that I haven't forgotten. He said, Mike, Littlefield cannot issue a bond to buy a piece of gum right now. That's how bad it was. So we worked hard to get it back up. We built up our financial reserves. We changed the water rates. All of that was a big factor to the bond market. So they went out there and refinanced the bonds for us. And so our coupon rate went low, and that's where we ended up saving about $3 million. So it's gonna take some work. I think that the thing about it is that I think from a financial standpoint, we're in a good position. We got a healthy reserve. I think our audits have been good coming back, which are all play a part of that. And our budget that we submitted and then lowering the tax rate is something that I think will be beneficial to us when we get to that point of looking and going to the bond market.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I would say that a voter approved general obligation bond, that's going to be your strongest credit just for any city because the community's spoken. And if they approve it, then that goes a long way with investors. I also know Kermit ISD, they're rated single A. And of course they're supported with general obligation debt, which again, like I said, is usually the strongest credit rating. But I do agree with Mike. I think it's still in the right now the city's in an investment grade level, maybe in the triple B area, and I think that some positive things for you, like Mike said, is strong financial management. You have a significant reserve, and so that's been positive. So those are certainly really strong credit backings. But there are those implications that Mike's talking about that. The analysts they'll be comparing your water rates to others around Texas and of similar sized cities, and they may be making recommendations. Well, they wouldn't make the recommendation. They would just make the point that the rates are not at the level that maybe they should be or otherwise. So they give you that insight to the system.
And this 40 or 50 bucks, that's gonna take care of the 12 or 15 we pay now.
So now the $12 that's currently on the water bill, that is for the sewer bond. So what if we move down this direction, the one thing that we will prepare for the council is, do we want to keep that in place, or do we want to go ahead and take the reserves that we have, pay off that bond, and remove the $12 on the current bill? So without digging any further, that what we're looking at is that this is a discussion Mark and I have had in depth, is that would be able to offset the new debt that we would issue if we went ahead and just pay it off. We got 3 years left on our sewer bond, and I believe maybe 6 years left on the other water bond. But what we're talking about, the $12 is the sewer bond. And, without a lot of numbers in front of me and really diving into it, my initial inclination would be to say, let's pay off that sewer bond, get rid of the $12, and then issue the new debt.
And those been done, water and the sewer, all those
Those
jobs,
projects are complete.
Yes.
projects are,
Yes, they're complete. Yes.
Okay, so like I said, the biggest thing for these meetings is to kind of get y'all's head wrapped around what we have to do by after next Thursday's meeting in order to make the deadlines of calling for the election, or if y'all decide to do with the GOs, or if you decide to do the COs and move forward now, then it saves us, to me, the potential of construction costs going up and whatever else. So we just have to have a decision next week's meeting.
At this point in time, the decision would be next week. If you've got a general inclination, it helps me to be able to write the agenda item, whether we're gonna look at COs or GOs. And doing that, we could probably figure out a way to finagle I guess I shouldn't say finagle an agenda at the same time. Figure out a way to have the verbiage on the opportunity to be able to issue either COs or GOs. I have to work with Slater on how we can actually have that agenda item written. Because remember, even though it's debt, one is COs, one are GOs. So,
Well, my thought is that maybe take the park to the voters. And the rest of it is something that is, in my opinion, the rest that has to be done, or we're gonna be in a world of hurt, that we would do the COs.
So you're saying go the GO on the park, the
Where the voters have to vote.
yeah,
yes.
where they have to vote on it.
Yes.
Is that consensus of the council that's here tonight so that he can kind of word it that way on the agenda for next week?
I mean, I don't know. I just know that if you're gonna put this whole amount to the voters, we're gonna have a hard time. Plus, making their property taxes go up so high.
And as we discussed in the last, I mean, this is, as I mentioned, this is deferred maintenance. And as an example with the water lines, it's either pay me now or pay me later, but
A lot more.
those water lines are going to have to be replaced eventually.
Right.
I mean, there's no way to skirt around that issue. And so I think that that's just some of the things that we have to take a look at. And we talked about I think there'll actually be a cost savings eventually in the long run by building solid waste transfer station because of the vehicles not being on the road and the money going back and forth. So, I mean, so I think that there's some definite pluses in order for us to be able to move forward on these projects.
So the increased rough numbers on the park and the sports facility building is going to be about $35 a month increase. Because that's about half of the bond, right?
Yes,
Wasn't it
sir.
about
That's,
12 million. We're looking at 25. Is that right?
yes, sir. Rough numbers. Yes, sir. That's about right.
Yeah, I just saw this rough number. So if you took that and divided it in half, it'd be $450 a year. So about $40, less than $40 a month. That you're going to let, and it's fine. Voters need to vote on any or all of it, but you're holding off the process for $40 a month, not the full 900, because the 900's encompassed City Hall, Public Safety Building. All those three items fall under the $25 million bond. So just keep that in mind as well. Does that make sense? I don't want to muddy it, but I don't want to confuse anybody that full property tax increase is just for the park and the sports building. It's just for the half of that bond would be for that. The other half would be City Hall, Public Safety Building, and
Right.
Okay.
I mean, is there a way that I'm sure there may be a way to cut the park project down a little bit to where it's not so expensive?
It would be removing some of the amenities that are in there.
Yeah, and they're really good.
And I would like to point out, just for council's information, I posted something last week on Facebook, and I know Judy shared it. I didn't see a single negative comment on the cost, the projected increases, things of that nature. So I know that's a very slim audience somewhat, but there was zero, oh my God, I can't believe y'all are considering that or this, or what do you mean you're gonna spend $50 million on water line? Wasn't not a single negative. I think the residents of Kermit know that it's, like Mike said, deferred maintenance is some stuff that hasn't been done for a long time. Same with the buildings and the upkeep and the moving forward. The school bond increase, the bond was higher, so therefore the taxes that increase were even higher than what we're looking at on ours. So I don't know. It's up to y'all. And the water revenues should offset that cost. So the people that are using the water are going to pay the more. Does that make sense? Senior citizens that aren't using as much water won't be paying what a restaurant is paying.
And remember that, I'm sorry.
If the CO, the voters do not vote for, right?
Mhm.
That still makes their taxes go up or no?
Yes.
Yeah, and so really what we're looking at is the City Hall construction and the Best Park would be property tax related, while the solid waste transfer station would be our sanitation fund, and it'd be charged on their bill for sanitation. And of course, the aging water lines, the replacement of that would be based on the water increase that we're talking about, on the usage of the water.
So
we've got the three different streams.
okay, so the City Hall and the park go to
Property tax.
voters for property tax, or even if we didn't take it to the voters, it would still be property
Still gonna be
tax,
property tax.
no matter
No matter what.
whether we vote or not.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those-
That makes
so-
sense.
Yeah, I didn't quite understand.
Yeah,
that.
City Hall and Vest Park, their revenue stream in order to meet the debt structure
Mhm.
would be property tax.
Okay.
And senior citizen locked in, right?
Right.
And so remember that also for those that are kept up, the legislature this past legislative session pretty much locked the senior citizen rate at 140,000 for exemption. But if I'm not mistaken, and Mark, I'm not sure if you know, if I'm not mistaken, that's locked for property tax. So the first
Yes, sir.
140,000 is exempt from school property tax. It's not exempt from the county, city, hospital districts, MUDs, anything like, it's just school property tax. So while people may be looking for that exemption, it does not exist for city or county,
Okay.
anything like that.
Uh,
And the purpose of that is, if you look at your tax statement, the highest proportional amount of tax being charged per 100 is on schools. Is school ISDs. I mean, ISD, that's where a majority of your property tax is at.
What was I think I wrote it down wrong, and it was the projected cost for the new city hall and the remodeling of this building for the fire department. Was it 4.5?
It, between the two, it's projected about 10.
Okay. So about 4.5.
Yeah, so I think you said city hall is about 6.
You're probably looking at 5.5 each, so.
About 11. Oh.
But we could still get grants.
We could
to
go on a
help with-
project.
I mean, that's still the possibility.
Right.
I mean,
And-
so when we say next week where we want to vote on this, there's still that possibility that it could be lower.
Because we'll seek grants. As an example, Vest Park,
Mhm.
by approving the master park plan, while we may try and say that we're gonna issue COs in that amount, that doesn't prohibit us from seeking grants. And so we'll continue to do that. As an example, in the water, there may be the fact that we say we're gonna issue that. But what happens is that you basically authorize bonds to be issued. We would not, that'd be something we'd look at with our investment advisor, financial advisor. I don't know if we would issue all of that at one time. We just issue based on the project that we're doing. And if we receive funding from the Water Development Board, or they come in, they say, we'll give you all that and your rate is, 1%. Well, it's better for us to go to the Water Development Board at 1% than to go to the bond market at, say, 4 or 5%. So those are the type of considerations we'll make, and that'll be coming to the council once we get to that stage.
Yeah, that was my next question, is if we issued on project that, like we didn't issue it till we started the project.
Yeah, and so what would happen is that the council would have to authorize the issuance of those bonds. And then as the projects come up, it would bring and say, we found it cheaper at the Water Development Board, so we're not gonna use that piece of it.
Okay.
And so just gonna so you know, but if the council says we're gonna issue, say $10 million for the 2-inch line replacement, and that's all they wanna issue, then the council would have to try to redo it again in the next phase if they wanna do that.
To do anything additional.
Do anything that you have to issue additional COs. But if you try and say, we wanna authorize the issuance of,
48.
52 million to do all the water lines, then it's been authorized by the council, but those bonds will have to be actually sold on the market until we're ready for it.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
So what would we do in the case of maybe if we took part of it to the voters and then we kept part of it, not with the voters? And then the voters, they don't want to approve the park and the city hall because they feel like we need to do that. We're not doing the water lines as a priority.
And so, just so you know, is that any project that's being considered for COs and GOs, if it's not approved or not issued, then we have to wait for 3 years.
Right. So there's that.
Yeah, it cannot, this legislature stated that if, as an example, if you have a vote of the people on a GO and they vote it down, that cannot come back up for another 3 years.
Reintroduce.
What if you
And they have actually tightened the legislation that you can't get around it. And the reason I say that is because one of the examples that Rudy was telling us was that there was a city that went to the voter for, I don't know what it was, like a $250 million bond to do and renovate the Civic Center. It got voted down. So the following year, that same city came back and they said, you know what, we're gonna do tax notes. Pledged by property tax, and it's gonna be to the convention center, not the Civic Center, which means that they can't bring it back for 3 years. But they said now it's gonna be to the convention center, and we're not gonna do a GO, we're gonna do tax notes. At that time was perfectly legal to do, but because of that, the legislature got wind of it, so they tightened the noose even more. So even that's not eligible for done any, you can't do that any longer either. So as cities begin to try to find ways to get around, maybe a disapproval of that and a vote down of it, the legislatures begin to start really clamping down it. And that's where we got the actual definition of public works. Let's do those processes.
Okay, so if we took something to the voters and they denied it, and we got grants and we come up with the money to do it, we could do it, or we could not do it at all.
We could not issue debt for it.
No, but if we paid for it, like if we got grants, I mean, and I know you can't get a grant to fund the whole thing, but, and then we had some reserve that we could put with it, we could do that.
Mark, can that be done even though the people voted it down? I don't know if we can still do the project. I'm not 100% sure on that answer.
Yeah, you would, you said it earlier, Mike, you couldn't issue debt for it, but you could carry, if you have the money to cover the cost for the project, you could.
Okay.
So for instance, Vest Park and the sports center, roughly 15 million. If it was voted down and we came back later and got a 50-50 grant, then you would have to pull 7.5 million out of your reserves to fund the other half, which depletes your reserves down to nearly nothing.
And Mark, you probably know more than I do. I think that if we went in there and depleted the reserves, that would be frowned upon by the bond market.
Yeah, bonds gonna
Okay.
shoot up,
Okay.
and the public's gonna frown upon it.
It's gonna affect our bond rating.
Is that correct, Mark?
It's gonna affect our public.
Well,
opinion.
it is, you know, I will say, I don't want to like overemphasize this too much, but, you know, the purpose of the city is to provide services to its community. And so at some point, the level of reserve, if it gets too high, you know, there might be questions about whether that's appropriate or not. And so that could be a factor if there is not a plan in place on how the reserves will be used into the future. So, yeah, you know, I think that's the important part of it as well. And Mayor, if I could real quick, I just want to clarify one thing. I'm not sure if I was very clear about this. The GO bond or even the CO, if it's paid for from property tax, you know, the number I quoted, 900 per year, that was based on $100,000 home. So, you know, it's all relative. So, you know, if it's a $200,000 home, it's going to be $1,800 a year. I just wanted to be clear. I didn't want to miscommunicate to the community at all.
Okay,
So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And so just my own input on this, and y'all can take it for what it's worth. Over the last year and a half or so, in my discussions with people in the community, Vest Park, the multi-sports facility, and the fire station would get anything approved. They want those three things. And I have not heard any opposition on any of that. So throw that out there. The people that I've talked to in the community specifically want a more multi-sports building. They want a Vest Park redo, and they want a new fire station. And I think when you put it to the vote, it's going to be an overwhelming yes. So we can.
If you can get people to come out and vote.
Yeah. Well, it's still a majority, so it's going to be 10 people or one person or
Right.
250 people. And so COs, best way to remember them, C, council, so G, general public, so GO, CO, it's the best way I can remember or remind. My recommendation is next week y'all look at doing COs for the whole amount and issuing them as we get the bonds ratings and as we get the projects more defined. And council has already approved the expenditure.
So I'm absolutely correct. Okay, if we do the CO, that would be an increase of about, let's say, $900 a year per 100,000 valuation on your home or whatever. And then there would also be increase in the water rate as well as a increase in the
For the water line replacement.
Yeah, for the water, that would go to the water lines, and then for the transfer station, it would be,
Solid waste,
okay, that would come out of that.
sanitation.
Okay.
But understand also, which I just want to also add a little bit more. On the water.
Mhm.
That would be determinant. On how much of the projects you want to do.
Sure. If we went with just the replacement of the 2-inch liner, we went with the whole shebang.
Yeah, and understand that, which I'm not sure if we mentioned, but as we issue the debt to cover that particular project,
Mhm.
then that's when the water rate would be adjusted at that point in time to meet that debt obligation, because we haven't issued all the bonds. Now, unless the council says, which I believe is legal, the council says, let's issue all the bonds, all the debt, and the money we're not using, let's stick it into some type of interest-bearing account. And then you get to take that money as well to help. But as needed, then the money would come out of the interest-bearing account to be able to be used to pay for that project, because the debt has already been issued.
But you also start paying that interest when you issue the bond.
Correct, that's correct. So once the bond is issued, or all the bonds is the entire amount, yes, we would have to start making payments on that.
So,
And so I think again, this is a matter of kind of financial planning, is if the bond market is gonna be charging us less than what the interest income coming in off our investments, it may be beneficial. But if it's reversed, then we may not want to issue all the bonds right now.
I've heard more, and then it's a few, it's not 100, it's water lines first and other stuff can wait. I mean, that's, a few people have told me that. Our hall stuff, the city hall,
but they're all based off different revenue streams. So that's we need to make sure that if we do just the water lines, that's only gonna be paid from water revenues. Your sewer will come, or your the sanitation rates. So it's not like you can't do all of them, or you only have to do one, so.
but they didn't know that, and I was probably much on.
No, and that's why we're trying to have these meetings, is to try to get, not only for us, but for people that are listening, because we don't have many attend, that it's different revenue streams to help fund these. And while they're all tied to general household at the end of the month, they're, the water is based off your water usage. So if your water usage doesn't go up, then your water rate's not gonna, your monthly bill's not gonna go up. Same, anyway.
And then also to consider, been discussing what Mr. Mayor just went over. This would be to go ahead and pay off that bond for the sewer,
That would
as
be-
well as
That would probably be our recommendation.
the water.
And understand also that,
You have the funding to pay that.
it's, now we may have to use some for our reserves, but it won't be much. Understand also is that, as Mark stated, that we need about $40 per account. But that's just based on the average. We could probably put a plan together that says that the residential would be less, the commercial would pay more. But on the average, it's like $40 an account.
Also too, like I brought up a few meetings ago, this is the council employing potential new businesses that the council is supporting the city and investing in our future as well. So keep that in mind as well, that it's hard to entice somebody to come and put in a $3 million business or a $20 million business or whatever, if we're lacking in water lines and we're lacking in quality of life and parks, and our buildings are 70 years old. And so anyway, lots for y'all to decide. But we have to have a decision by next week.
Roughly, how much do we owe? I don't remember about how much we owe on those bonds.
Like 8 and 3, or
Yeah, Mark, I don't know if you got that readily available, what we still own the sewer bonds. I don't have that.
Okay, I don't know.
I do. Give me 2 seconds. No, there's about 900,000 left on the sewer. And then the other debt has about 1.8 million.
So
That's for the water
that'd be
tower,
on
So 3
water.
million.
for both.
2.7.
Yeah. And we would be okay doing that.
Yeah,
We
we
still have
can,
enough reserves to, because I don't want us to go spend all our money, you know.
yeah, we still have some reserve. But understanding that, while I'm not saying it's not a good idea to think about, just know that by using that money that we'll take out of tax pool would decrease our interest income.
Yes.
To just FYI. But I'm not saying it's not a bad idea to do that.
It
We
does
still
also,
recommend it to run in, have the sewer bond, so yeah.
because it does also show the voters and citizens that you're the best interest of them by paying things off instead of just
Right.
piling more and more on. So
Right.
while it sits in a bank.
Yeah.
So anyway, so we got a meeting next Thursday
Thursday.
and we'll need to. Do you need a kind of a consensus on how to word it?
I think I have a general idea of what we're looking at, but I may follow up to try to get some
Individually.
clarification with each of you. So as you know, because we don't have a full council right now, so I do probably want to get some input from the other two council members, so I'll reach out to them.
Right.
So we'll try to get the verbiage for the agenda worked out for y'all, but be prepared next Thursday to make a recommendation, GOCO or not at all.
I know this scares me to death, and I'm not gonna be here 30 years, 20 years, whatever.
The amounts, is that what you're talking about, Greg?
No, I'm from, yeah.
Yeah,
well, all
just
of
putting
it
people in
together.
debt.
Putting people in debt.
But had the people thought about that a long time ago,
Yeah.
we wouldn't be in this
Yeah.
Be
position,
near in this boat.
you know, so do we leave it for other councils in
Yeah,
20
we can keep our
years?
head in the sand and
You know,
follow past councils.
yeah. I don't think we wanna do that.
I don't think it's fair.
It's certainly not gonna help us grow.
No,
You're absolutely not gonna get
Certainly
it.
not gonna help us grow.
and we have the potential right now to really grow, and that's what
Lots of
we don't
things
want.
we're here for. Okay. Any other discussion on the previous council items, Joe? Okay, got one thing left.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I second.
And a motion and a second to adjourn, all in favor?
Uh,
Any opposed? Adjourned at 6:39 PM. To release, can we give that back to us? Yeah, that's the one thing, is just try to get as much education as we can get.
Thank you all. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mark.